We're live, 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 live. I'm very tired. It's the end of another day. But I'm hoping I'm hoping to invite Lord Kojay to this stream. I'm terrifically tired though. So not gonna take forever. So let me start off by saying all praise be to God. And I'm very sleepy. My eyes are red. But we're gonna try and do this stream here. I just sent him again an invite to it. I'll proceed with the stream. If he comes in, he'll just jump on and it should be cool. All right. If he doesn't jump on, no problem. Tonight, as you can see from the topics, we're going to cover whatever. You can cover from DC all the way back to some geopolitics. And we'll see how things go with that. I am extremely sleepy. I really want to go to sleep. That's why my eyes are so red. But let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about a little bit is DC. So I posted up on Twitter that March the 18th is going to be the day that marks the anniversary, the fourth anniversary of the release of the Snyder Cut in 2021. This is a suggestion to the Snyderverse community that we can have not just a hashtag day, but a day of competition. And what we can have is like the best poster for the sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, the best cosplay for the sequel of Zack Justice League, the best videos, trailer videos for the sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, the best soundtrack to the sequel for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that was my suggestion. Uh, Snyder Queen, she had put out something where she had the Man of Tomorrow, the Superman, Supergirl, as a poster in between two posters of upcoming movies this year in the summer, which would be Jurassic Park World Rebirth and Fantastic Four. She had it in between, which was really cool. But I suggested to her, and she has a lot of ideas, but I suggested to her, hey, why not instead put Zack Snyder's Justice League in the cinemas? And the idea I had was that we could put Zack Snyder's Justice League into cinemas after Superman flops. So that was the idea I was trying to tarry around. I don't know if I did it in stream or not. I can't remember. But with respect to the competition, and that's why I wanted to see. Look, I wanted to see if I could invite Lord Kojay here because it. Oh man, I'm definitely sleepy because in the competition, I was thinking that we could have some fun. One, two. There's a lot of gifted people in this movement. Let them showcase their skills like we did in times past. And of course, Lord Kojay is a very creative um, gentleman who also has fun. You know, you have um, the many games and shows that he has there. Very creative, versatile uh, person. And so it would be cool for people to present songs, for people to present cosplay, for people to present uh, posters, artwork, for people to present music. That would be fun. and something we could do. And people, people use different ingenious ways, AI, whatever. But just the key thing here is we probably have to hold this event on Twitter, where instead of across all platforms, probably have it on Twitter, where the person who gets the most likes wins in each category. So let's say we have four categories, right? So the person who has the most likes for the poster of the sequel, whatever that poster is, you know, wins. And then maybe the winners could be presented to Zack Snyder so he can know, hey, look, this is what we think about the sequel and so on, blah, 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 blah. So we have something we're working on, you know, and it's a positive environment. It's not negative. And it's kind of fun because it's competition, and people come up with different ideas and innovative things that should be fun. Oh, my goodness, what is going on with me? I yawned. This is like the fourth or fifth time I've yawned. So that's the idea for that. And how can you do it? I'm going to suggest it again. One of the ways to do this, make it very feasible, and you don't have to get judges and all of that. Most likes wins. How do you do it? You have Restore the Snyderverse as your hashtag, but you also have as your hashtag uh, the category, which would be if it's video, if it's cosplay, if it's soundtrack, if it's um poster. So we have almost all the aspects of, you know, advertising for the film. And then the other thing is you can put also Snyder Cut, because where you can put this, you can all put it in one place. So you can go to like the Snyder Cut, right? Which literally at Snyder Cut. At Snyder Cut is Zack Snyder's Justice League, where all the promotions for Justice League was done. So since we're doing sequels, we could tag that in at Snyder Cut, and then you put your other hashtags, which would be Restore the Snyderverse and also whatever category you're in. So that's the way how you can get it prioritized. People can search for it, or they could just go on the Snyder Cut Twitter and look down the area at the different categories, and then see which one you like the most. So I propose that, and hopefully a lot of people will see and they take it on. So today was the 4th. Tomorrow's going to be the 5th. That means we'll have about 13 days left to make this happen. And of course, you could judge the things over 2 days. So over 2 days, you get all the. At the end of the 18th, the competition ends. So you have a start point and you have an end point. And then what you need to do is simply gather all the four categories, make sure you get the best in each four categories, and then you send off that particular poster or video or cosplay or soundtrack so that Zack Snyder can see it on Twitter or on um, Twitter or on Vero, and see what his comments are about it. We could have either bragging rights or we could have an actual prize for the winner. So that's a way of having fun and celebrating Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's also watch alongs maybe we could do, and a number of different other things. Um, yeah. Okay. So the next thing I'd like to talk about, I didn't talk about on Twitter because I just didn't have the opportunity to do so. By the way, I'm not in Christ I Am Disciples uh, YouTube, because YouTube has banned me for at least a week because they said I infringed copyright for some reason, even though I was on Twitter. Um, when talking about DC, uh, a lot of times we, uh, I don't know, it depends on the generation we're in. We take for granted that the DC we saw growing up. Again, I can only speak for myself. I'm 50 years old. So the DC I knew as growing up um, is the same DC today. The DC today is not that. We have Kite Man, we have Creature Commandos, we have Harley Quinn, we have a bunch of comedy. DC's more comical now. They pretty much closed down Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. They closed that chapter. DC, when I was growing up, was serious. There weren't a lot of jokes. Um, from even Super Friends, as ludicrous as it was, the characters took everything seriously, even though they over dramatized things. It wasn't like Batman 1966 and onwards. It The characters weren't wacky, even though they did some wacky things. They were very serious, stoic. And DC's been that way throughout the years, whether it's the Batman, whether it's Superman, the animated series, whether it's Justice League Unlimited, whether it's the movies, Superman Unbound, and Superman, um, Batman, Superman, uh, Doomsday, or Batman, Superman, Darkseid, whatever. The Killing Joke, and just on and on and on. Okay. And the reason being that that's how we grew up with DC. DC, the animated, series, the animated movies were all serious toned. So, there's a generation growing up, and I guess there's a difference in generations. I guess they seem to like more of the humor, more marvelous sort of DC. There was a little bit of it in the CW. CW is kind of not taking the characters too seriously at a certain point, and then the storylines got more serious. You know, so you know, DC is over the years. It depends on your personal experience with DC. You know, in my opinion, and I say this because the DC brand uh, is undergoing an evolution, in my opinion, that is going to head into its absolute annihilation. This is just my personal opinion. I don't know how different people feel about it. But this is one time where DC needs saving. And I see some people pointing fingers at Zack Snyder, even though he has had nothing to do with DC of recent times. The only thing he had to do with DC was the Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was 4 years ago, pretty much, almost. So that's it. I mean, he hasn't had anything to do with DC. But people want to still blame him for some reason. Um, but DC's in a very bad place. And the thing about it is, these characters are so iconic and memorable and big and larger than life that if you don't have reverence for them, if you don't have some sort of plan or vision for where you want to go with them, uh, it just ends in disaster. Just ends in disaster, which is sad because I see a lot of not only Snyder fans but DC fans talking about what if this had happened, what if that had happened, where would we be now? A lot of what ifs. I have one more thing to talk about, which would be Palestine, and then I'm calling it a day. I see so many people now joining in, talking about free Palestine. I see comics doing it. I see people in Hollywood. I saw Pierce Grace. Pierce Grayson he was wearing uh, a free Palestine pin at the Oscars, which was really awesome. No one asked him to take off his pin. I think the veil is finally coming off. And hopefully, um, the world will not put up with what Israel and the United States are doing and some parts of Western Europe to maintain this hegemony over the Palestinians and oppress them. I'm so proud of so many people I'm seeing on Twitter now speaking out against what Israel's doing. And not only that, but they've dug a lot deeper and they realize this is something that's actually very demonic. And it's really cool. I remember I was having a sort of Bible study with a brother. Um, I hadn't read the Bible in a while, but I always remember scripture. But the brother, I went across to him to do some business, and we ended up in a Bible study because I was talking about certain things, and he decided to pull out his Bible and run through it, and that was really cool because I saw certain things which really explains what's happening right now. The prophecies are being fulfilled and everything, and it's so utopian at the same time. It's freaky, and you know, uh, a lot of people don't know, but so much people are finally becoming, as they say, woke. Or they're waking up to the fact that we have to rely on each other as human beings. And I know it's tough. I mean, everybody's got to, do X, Y, and Z. They still have to try and be on top of your own life. But one of my friends, he died today. He was 47. And I want to put things in perspective so you guys will understand. Excellent musician. I did some work for him. He got sick last year. He got uh, he got dialysis because his kidneys were bad. Apparently, he ran down his kidneys, and after he came out the hospital, he was feeling much better and everything. He was on the mend, improvements. We were talking about projects we were going to do, and I thought he was okay. I did not know until today that he died today. I feel like sometimes I'm robbed of the opportunity to see somebody for the last time, to talk with them for the last time. Because the last time we spoke, it was about projects for the future, and it seemed as though he was rebounding. I didn't know he was admitted to the hospital on the day of his birthday, and in 4 days' time, he was dead. I put this to you guys so you'll understand what I'm saying. Life is such a valuable thing, and it's not guaranteed. None of us are guaranteed to live to see the next day. We're just not. 50 years old. I have a little problems with my stomach at times. And my mother died of pancreatic cancer, which was due to her stomach as well. And sometimes I look at it and I say, it's inevitable. We're all going to die. That's something that's almost certain. The question is, will we be ready for that time when we have to die? Will we be ready for it? And some people say, well, no one's ever ready, is perfectly ready to die. Well, then set your mind on it because you know it's going to happen. When exactly, we don't know. So you have to make sure you're right with yourself and you're willing to accept death when it comes knocking on your door. It's a serious thing. So, anyway, I said that to say also this, which is more important than accepting death. Value the people who are alive. Value your life and value the people around you who are alive, who love you, care for you, and are willing to support you, because that's another very important thing, right? Um, I say that because this was a gentleman who I thought we were going to do projects, together with for the foreseeable future, and that did not happen. So, guys, value the people around you. If you value humanity, if you value life, value the people around you. They're not going to be there forever, and you're not going to be there forever. So, those are the two take home messages I just wanted to share, which brings us back to Palestine. So, this ceasefire has been held for as long as it could possibly be held without Israel breaking the agreement and deciding to bomb Gaza all over again and invade it, like they're doing the West Bank. The difference is, and of course, the Arab nations just brought forward a proposal that was drafted out by Egypt and led by Egypt. I don't agree with the proposal completely, but I do agree with parts of it. And they're putting this proposal to their assembly, which is coming up very soon, and that's something they're going to shoot at Donald Trump. This is what we think should happen, and that's really cool because um, Donald Trump kind of put it out there. Okay, well, maybe America needs to just take over Gaza, and the Gazans, leave for a moment, be in a safe place, and then come back. Which we know that's not going to happen, right? But I think he threw it out there as an alternative to what uh, to the default operation, which is Israel just attacking them and bombing the shit out of them. Because we've had this ceasefire for a good minute. And of course, Netanyahu's trying to break that up. He's been trying his hardest to stop that ceasefire from happening. And he also is trying his hardest not to get any more hostages exchanged. Hopefully, he loses that battle. Um, so I say all of this in the midst of um, the ceasefire still being held right as we speak. Um, and human life, I see now I kind of I'm acquainted with some of the Palestinian people in Palestine because they constantly um, tweet out tweets. And there's a wonderful gentleman with his little baby son. And I think his son's name is Raji. And when you see these pictures, when you see that these are just normal people like yourself, and the humanity of the thing, you just don't want to see them die, right? There's Omar, there's Muhammad, Khalid, there's, Raji, little Raji, he's less than a year old. I just saw a picture of a dead child that froze to death in Gaza, and it's just, this stuff is horrific, man. And it's one of the most, it's tough. It's tough to watch, you know. Uh, and then, the, the blockades going on so that there's no food, clothing, protection for these people who are living in tents, mind you. They're still living in tents. Is just, you know, it's tough. It's tough to take. It's tough to see. So it's about time we talk about how we can take action to make these things work and hurry up the process. So might as well go into it a little bit. One of the things that very powerful people they count on is a feeling of hopelessness by the people who spectate what's going on. I remember very vividly the George Floyd incident and how we were all held hostage by that police officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck and killed him. And I want to say, we must never give in to hopelessness. There is a spiritual element to this whole thing. Now, some of you don't believe in that stuff, but I'm just going to share with you what I think it is. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batfleck says that I'm going solely by faith and not by reason. If we go by only reason and logic, you can't extend beyond a certain point. There will always be a limit. But when you have faith, you have just blown off the lid of something called limits. And it is your faith that will propel a situation into a certain particular predicament or result. If you don't believe in what you're doing, don't do it. You're just going through the motions. But if you believe in what you're doing and you're willing to give your life for it, more than likely, the outcome that you're driving towards, whether you live to see it or not, will happen. And so, what that police officer did with George Floyd and what Israel is doing to the Palestinians is to break not just them, but the people who are watching who want to help them. It's to discourage you. It is a satanic method employed to break you. But if you do not break, and if you continue to apply pressure, because trust me, Israel and the United States Congress are under pressure by the world and by individuals in the United States of America themselves. And in Israel, pressure is mounting against the Israeli government by Israelis. And it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And we need to attack them, if I have to say it any other way, we have to attack them both within and without. And the training ground for what we have done was through release the Snyder Cut. We intensified and we intensified and we intensified and we intensified. And finally, Warner Brothers had to break and give it. They were the most powerful, but that power comes from us. All governments of the world, their power only comes from our consent. I have said to you guys, and I will say it again, civil disobedience is very important. If a government makes bad law, you are not entitled, you're not obliged to obey bad law. And that's where civil disobedience comes in. For the greater cause. So for the students who are protesting on campuses that the government wants to displace and say they want to, bar them from the campuses and kick them out the country. Hey, it doesn't matter how much draconian teeth you put on it. If your law is bad, people need to call you out on your bad law. And also, they need to ignore it and press forward and not be intimidated by it. If the masses are not intimidated by laws that these people look at anti-Semitism, right? The accusation was that this person is anti-Semitic, this person is anti-Semitic, this person is well, guess what? If everybody, you can't blame everybody. If the whole entire country is making being critical of Israel, what are you going to do? You're going to accuse the whole country of being anti-Semitic, and what are you going to do about it? When everybody is saying the same thing all over the world, that's a pressure. It's called peer pressure, and it's very intense. People only have as much power as you give them. If there is a consensus globally in the United States and elsewhere by the people of the world that what Israel is doing is wrong, and they start acting on it, and their governments can do whatever they want, but the people do not agree with their governments and don't just protest, literally start acting in the confines of the law. If your government is not acting in the confines of the law that your government is supposed to abide by, as well as everybody else in the country, you have the right to do what's necessary to make sure that law is enforced. And you have to move like that. It's all in the attitude. All in the attitude. And if the government makes laws that contravene the laws of the land, to try to counter those laws or redact those laws, you have a right to disobey, to ignore that, and to proceed on based on principle. And you shouldn't be afraid to do so. It's all about mass and volume. No government in the world can go against the consensus of the people. The people have too much power, way more power than any government. And that's what you guys have forgotten. You've forgotten. You don't even know how governments even came to be. You haven't studied the history of America and how the federal government came to be. It's worth checking it. It's worth checking out the history of any country you live in and how those governments and governance came to be. These are all very important things because before the U.S. had a federal government, they were doing just fine. Think about what I'm saying. So there's a lot to be said and a lot we can do as civilians, not even citizens. I'm talking as civilians. I'm not even talking about if you have citizens' rights. You don't have to be a citizen to have power of a country. You just have to be civilian. And that's a very important thing for people to understand. And the sooner you become more empowered, the better it will be. Because now you can work in harmony with other people. Okay? The key to these people is intimidation. When they're in the wrong, they're going to intimidate. They're going to make laws to try and intimidate and quiet people and shut them up. And you must say, just like with the Snyderverse, we're not going to shut up and we're not going away. We'll be here. Your regime will be gone, just like the last regime. We'll still be here, demanding what we demand. You have to make demands of your government. You are paying them to take care of you. They're accountable to you. They're not accountable to some foreign country with people there. Even if those people are part citizens of your country, you're accountable to you and your country. And you need to enforce the Constitution. You need to enforce the principles of good law and hold your governance accountable and take action against them when they are not being accountable. No matter what country this is. Politicians do not serve you. They serve their personal interests. You have to make clear to them what your interests are and that what you want, you should get for yourself. And especially the federal government. The federal government is so removed from the average citizen. You know? So that's what I've got for you guys. This was the stream tonight. I'll go into the nuts and bolts of how we can proceed in even more emphatic ways and tremendous ways with the people who we elect and put in charge of the daily runnings of our countries. And that goes for Israelis in Israel. Y'all need to stop being intimidated by the Gestapo and people trying to beat you up and stuff. I forgot to say, and this is a very important point. If you know you're going to do a protest, whether you're college students or whether you are protesting in the streets about something, just like how we have bouncers in clubs, you need to bring protection. Whether it's veterans from the military or whoever, you need someone who can de-escalate a situation because the police and the military presence, they're trained to be abusive. But a police officer is not going to attack someone trained in combat who is also armed. They're not just going to tackle that person. Why do I say this? You need to have a presence there that makes the police think twice about attacking you. It's very important that you couple up with veterans who've been in combat, who are invested in your voicing being right. There are a lot of veterans who do not agree with what America is doing right now. A lot of them. And they are combat ready, combat intense veterans. And why I say this to you guys is because you need protection. You can't just put yourself and your bodies on the line and have police brutalizing you. They're behaving like thugs. And the only way they're going to respect you and you have to have a deterrent is to actually have a physical presence there to deter them from just attacking you just like that. I'm going to say another thing, and this concerns Hamas. The reason why Gazans are still alive in Gaza is because of Hamas's presence. Hamas is a deterrent to just go into Gaza and do what you like, the Israeli military. Hezbollah is a deterrent to Israel just expanding into Lebanon and doing whatever they want. Countries with a military, and that's the whole purpose of the military, with a military presence, whether militia or otherwise, countries with a military presence are protected from invaders. That's the whole purpose of the military. Hamas is a makeshift military. We call them a militia, as is Hezbollah. Are they terrorist organizations? Maybe in the past they've conducted suicide bombings and stuff like that. But at the present time, they're not doing that anymore. They resorted to more conventional methods of warfare. But they will defend their territory to the very death. Okay? If you have student protests on campuses, ensure that some tactical military presence is there. Trust me, it is a deterrent. Whether the military gentlemen will have to come out in the foreground and speak with the police officers and have a conversation with them first, or otherwise. But it is good to have someone as a deterrent so that officers of the law will not abuse excessive violence on people who are not striking back. Some people think it will become explosive. I do not think so. I don't think it'll become explosive if you have an ex-Merc, an ex-Navy SEAL, highly trained, specialized trained individuals protecting these people. They know how to approach people. They know how to deal and handle and de-escalate a situation. And they will speak in a language that the officers will understand. I think that's very important. And regardless of whether the officers think they have the law on their side or not, it's important for them to know, no, you're not just showing up here and beating up people for no reason at all. That's not going to happen. And we're not going to fire shots at you, but you're not going to do it. So this is a way to deter people from doing things without consequence. Because what's happening with the officers of the law, just like with Israel, is they feel they can do almost anything and get away with it, even if it's on tape. The individual who killed George Floyd, on camera, Has he been sentenced to prison? Is he in prison? Have they murdered him in prison? Is he in solitary confinement? Because you have to understand, the law of reciprocity is what it is. If you are willing to take a life, you should be also willing to have your life taken, right? It's only fair. Now, if you've taken a life and you've gotten away with it and you don't get your life taken, well, good for you. But that's the nature of the business. So, this gentleman who terrified the whole world, and by the way, that was an act of terror, where is he now? Is he in prison? Is he in solitary confinement? These are the questions I would like to know because we can't have that going on everywhere in the United States of America. I don't care if the president has decreed X, Y, and Z is not, if it is violating the First Amendment rights, then you have all grounds not to follow it and to ignore it and continue what you're doing. And when they come through to arrest you, they better know what they're doing. If you can get a legal team or people who will do work to defend you, very well. If the case must go up to the Supreme Court, very well. But at the end of the day, you need to resist that. But you have to resist in a smart way. You have to protect yourself. So I just thought I would put that in there because I know these people are putting their lives on the line and to have their voices heard, to resist. And it's very important that you do that. Uh, you know, um, but you need to be protected. I was watching in Israel, a woman got kicked. Uh, Police brutalized her and kicked her up. I saw in Germany, police brutalizing protesters for no reason at all. The protesters didn't throw any punch at them, anything like that. They arrested protesters randomly. This use of excessive force and this abuse of power, you can't allow that to happen. You employ those motherfuckers. You employ them. It's off of your tax dollars that they're doing this nonsense. You are their employer. Without you, they have no work. So you need to seize control of your right. But you have to protect yourself in the process. They'll need to go through, if you're going to use physical violence, then you'll have to go through people who are specialized in physical violence, have seen actual warfare and combat, and who are ready to defend the rights of individuals in the country with their lives. Are you willing to take that risk? You have to make them think twice. It's a psychological warfare, and that's the way how this game is played. So I say all of this to say there are people who will gladly volunteer. They'll happily volunteer to protect you. They're gleefully because they like combat. That's their thing. Okay, so you don't have to put your lives and your bodies on the front line like that. You know, I think I spent 44 minutes and 18 seconds on this. I think that this is enough. I just thought I would share a little bit. There's a lot of details and things I want to talk about tomorrow. Hopefully, I get to do stream tomorrow. It depends. I am very, very tired, ladies and gentlemen. I think I spent enough time talking to you guys. So you guys have a good night. Shout out to Lord Kojay. You don't have to come up on the stream, brother. But God bless you and keep you. And I will see you guys probably tomorrow with another stream. Maybe not. Depends. We'll see. But until then, you guys stay good. Appreciate the people in your lives around you. And don't forget, it's inevitable. You're going to have to die. Which day, we don't know. So cherish every day to the max, cherish the people around you to the max, and always try to fight for people like yourself to have at least a fighting chance in life to enjoy some of the good things in life that we all hope to share in. So that's what I have for you guys. You guys have a good one. God bless you all.